Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Monday, May 21st, and just want to welcome you here to Morning Light. I hope you're all up and at it and ready for a new week. For some of you, it's the last week of school, for me as well, so pretty excited about that. For others of you, it'll just be another week at work and hopefully a nice one to go into summer with. So I just wanted to talk today about one of the hardest things in the world to ever do for any of us. And it's on the subject of forgiveness. So before you turn me off, hang in there because this is one that we all need to learn about and really take to heart. In a time where division and hatred is the norm, this is a time also that we can rise up and be the Jesus that he has called us to be, that people are watching and looking for. Where socialism and feminism and anti-Semitics and any political correctness is the thing that's driving the country today, we may have to be set apart to do something different. We may have to be the kind of person that chooses to forgive instead of to fight, to give an opinion of maybe something that could be the right opinion, but God doesn't want you engaging in an argument where people may say things and hurl insults to you that you may have to turn, like it says in the Bible in Luke, and says turn the other cheek and just give it to them that way instead of allowing them to fight and you engage with them in a fight, instead of taking a grudge or continuing to allow the battle to rage on in an argument, or to be sure you have the last word. God may be saying, you know what, just forgive them. Jesus, we can find in Luke 6:27 at the time, and it's verse 28 as well. He says, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. That's hard. Bless those who curse you and pray for those who mistreat you. To me, that is the hardest thing I think you will ever be asked to do. I still struggle with this in a time where I just want to either lash back or maybe go home and nurse my wounds from something that somebody has done or said to me. God is saying to you, would you even bless them? Not just go home and try to not pay any attention to them or try to avoid them. He's not saying that. He's saying, would you be willing to bless those who curse you? One of the neatest things I learned recently this year, and it really confuses the enemy, is that when someone does something wrong to you, would you be willing to send up a prayer for them? Would you be able to do something kind? Maybe you need to do it anonymously. Maybe you're not in a position to go up and, give them a gift or be pleasant with them because they may hate you. They may not want any part of you. But would you be willing to write a note, send a flowers, send whatever their favorite coffee is, or maybe a gift card to their favorite coffee shop? Would you be willing to bless them and then let God take care of it from there? I used to think when I was younger, you might remember this, heaping coals on their head was something that I used to think was to burn them, and it was kind of a payback. And as I grew in my faith walk, God taught me, no, it is to heap coals upon someone, is to love them to the point that it melts their heart and heart. So obviously people that are hateful and speak hatefulness usually are hurting people. I teach that a lot, that hurting people hurt people. And so many times you may have, they may have be hurting you because they're offended, they're hurt from somebody else. You may just be getting the excess of what somebody else has done to them. So trying not to be offended, trying not to take it personal. But then in the midst, when they do that, would you be willing to bless them? Would you be willing to pray for them? God says, would you be willing to pray for those who curse you? That's hard. That's really, really hard when you have all these people that you want to pray for that love you and want God to bless them. God's saying, would you pray for that person that is really mean and hateful? Remember this, when Jesus said this, he was hanging on the cross. He had been beaten, flogged, spit at, cursed at, mocked. They were gambling for his clothes below him, the soldiers, anything and everything at the highest level of insult and injury, something that most of us will never know. Jesus cries out to God and says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Now, Honestly, I struggle with this because I think of mean people or people that are hateful know exactly what they're doing. But we have to remember this, that a lot of times, especially with a non-believer, that they have scales over their eyes. So honestly, they don't know what they're doing. They're blinded to the light of Christ. They're blinded to this life that God has called us into that would not ask us to act like this. And there's a lot of Christians. I know there's division in the church like crazy. You may have division in your workplace. It may be in your home. It may be right where you're at with your family. And, you feel like you're in a battle of all battles and people are, hurling those insults and calling you names. It's kind of like the bully on the playground that sits back and watches and waits for the weakest one or the one who just kind of stands off to themselves and really it doesn't engage with anybody. And that bully will seek him out and go and pick on him. Maybe you feel like that. Maybe you're kind of the victim. And you're like, God, what gives? I'm just kind of, minding my own business. I don't really want to be a part of fighting, but the bully comes and attacks. And, Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane minding his own business, but he knew that the plan, what God had for him was to save, all of mankind by going to the cross. That was the highest form of redemption, highest payment that could save our souls. And to somebody who did not sin one time, who didn't have anything bad to say about anybody. He was fully human in his time here on earth, the 33 years that he lived here. But we have to remember that he felt everything we felt. So it wasn't like he was set apart, that he didn't have the hurt feelings, the insult, the beating, the flogging, all those things he felt just like we would have felt. But at the same time, while he laid on that cross, crying out, dying, he was dying at this time, he says, Father, and he prays to God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Would you be willing this week? And it's going to be a tough week of teaching. I'm going to prepare you for that. So don't tune out. I don't want to say this and then say, I'm not listening to this week. I know there's probably at least one person in your life. There's people in my life that I need to work on this. So God always gives me what I need to work on to be able to teach to all of you. So I'm in the boat with you. Think of the person that you need to forgive. Think of the person who curses your name or talks about you or gossips about you or openly and blatantly is mean to your face. Think of that person. This is the one that God wants you to bless this week. Would you be willing to confuse the enemy and write a note, send a card, send some flowers, do something? This won't be a random act of kindness. This is going to be on purpose. Here's what it does for you, and this is what God taught me, and I started to say this earlier, was that it does confuse the enemy. He doesn't know what to do when you start doing things that God calls you to do. All of us can return insult for insult. We can return injury for injury. All of us are not, and we don't not know how to do that. That's our sinful nature. It's our flesh that's like, I'm not going to be nice to this person because they've been really hateful to me. This is something I need to work on as well. So would you do that today? Would you find the person, probably your greatest enemy, and bless them this week? And would you pray for them? And that may just mean, Lord, bless their soul today, bless their home, bless their work, bring them a blessing. And then if God calls you to bless them, would you be obedient in doing this? Because this is one of the things, like I said, is one of the hardest things to do, I think, in humankind, for us to love our enemies and be kind to those that hate and curse us. So it's a big challenge this week. We're going to talk about loving your Judas this week. For those of you who do not know who Judas is, he's the one that sold Jesus up to the Roman soldiers and sold him for 30 coins that ultimately led to his crucifixion. But he was one of his own. He was one of the 12 disciples. So we're going to talk about loving our Judas, forgiving those who have hurt us, and maybe even forgiving yourself. That's a biggie. Some of us need to even make amends with God because we're really angry at him too. So big week on forgiveness. So I hope you tune in every morning. So have a great Monday. Get out there. There's a beautiful rain shower about 5:30 this morning, and everything is wet and beautiful. The birds are singing. Get out and enjoy this spring morning. It is gorgeous out there. Get into the Word. Get in some time of prayer with God. And remember to bless those who have cursed you this week. Pray for them. I'll talk to you guys back here tomorrow morning, bright and early on Morning Light. Bye-bye.